This video is very important and I need all of you to share this because the UK government is actually trying to take control of YouTube's algorithm. The UK government is running a public consultation called Watch This Space, a new strategic direction for UK media. The proposal includes mandatory changes to how content is discovered on YouTube. This could direct audiences away from your channel. And this is similar to age verification, where if you think this won't affect you because you don't live in the UK, you are crazy. As a UK creator, this directly impacts your future. Digital content discovery works best when driven by user choice, not legal requirements. This is a vital window for you to share your perspective before the consultation closes on the 31st of August 2026. So essentially, the UK government is trying to make it so their pushed approved content will be the ones that will be showing on your YouTube homepage, regardless of whatever type of content you watch. And what type of content are they referring to? Legacy media, meaning their stupid media channels in the UK, all of their news channels, BBC, all that crap. That'll always be on the forefront of your homepage, and that'll make it so UK creators and creators in general are going to be getting less viewership because they're going to be getting pushed out of the algorithm by the BBC, ITV, and Channel 4, which are like news organizations in the UK. Look, I can handle YouTube going ahead and destroying their own website. Obviously, it's something that frustrates me, but it's something that we've gotten used to. I want YouTube to change, but at the end of the day, it is their website, right? But I'll be damned if we let another country come into YouTube and start deciding what type of content is posted on YouTube. That is insanity. At the end of the video, I'll show you guys how to do the consultation and we'll do it together. But anyways, impact of the proposed rules. The proposed new rules include a mandatory prominence regime. This could require digital platforms like YouTube to prioritize and give a privileged position to traditional broadcasters like the BBC, ITV, and Channel 4 in user interfaces and recommendations feeds, potentially pushing your content out of sight. Mandating prominence in traditional institutions will impact all other independent digital creators, production companies, and media. And that means people outside of the UK as well. If YouTube gets forced to go ahead and give legacy media the priority, traditional broadcasters have to be on the forefront of YouTube, and a country like the UK is going to pass a law to make sure that that is the case, that could happen anywhere. The United States might do that. Other countries might do that as well. They're going to be thinking, wait, so the UK just forced YouTube to only show their news at the forefront of the website? Maybe we should do that too. Let's go ahead and shove our news down everyone's throats. This is a massive deal. This is on the level of age verification, and this could possibly be even worse because this is making it so the world's governments will actually be able to control every piece of content that we consume on social media and the internet. It is insanity. Your content will be downranked. Pushing this group forward means pushing everyone else downward. Mandatory prioritization of broadcasters would affect how your content reaches your audience, regardless of what your audience actually wants to see. Reducing user exposure to diverse content and independent creators. And remember that there are journalists out there that are independent as well. They're not with the news organization. Mandating prominence for established media networks would push the UK's diverse mix of independent journalists, educators, and digital-first businesses down the line. Threat to reach and channel growth. Your ability to organically grow your community, generate views and revenue, and build a sustainable business is compromised if your content is hard to be discovered, undermining the creator-audience bond. The consultation repeatedly emphasizes, quote, trust in the context of legacy broadcasters. So they're actually saying, yeah, go ahead and just trust legacy broadcasters. Just go ahead and trust the news. Yeah, okay, cool. Implying that digital-first voices are less credible, damaging the foundational trust that sustains the creator economy. So the UK government is unironically telling us, hey, just go ahead and trust our news. We have the best news. Those silly YouTubers, those silly influencers, they don't know what they're talking about. They're probably doing this because so many people on YouTube right now are going ahead and denouncing the UK's age verification social media ban. So they're probably trying to push those types of content creators out of here. But again, that's just my own tinfoil theory. But again, this is a massive deal. We need to make sure we are doing something about this. So this consultation is going to run through August 31st, 2026. So creators have until August 31st to submit their responses to the proposals via a response form on the UK government website. So there is a questionnaire hidden in the consultation, where obviously the UK doesn't want you to go ahead and vote no on this, but I'm going to show you guys it, and I'm going to obviously leave a link in the comments, probably in the description as well. I really want everybody to go and vote on this. This is just like ID age verification. Even if us just denouncing it and saying it's bad is not enough, we need to actually make sure our voices are heard, and this one we can actually vote on it pretty easily just through this web form. So this is what it'll look like. The website that just popped up will have this page over here that says respond online. So it's going to be like, this consultation is part of the government's work to set a new strategic direction, blah, 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 whatever. So let's just go down over here. There's going to be 8 sections over here that we're going to answer on, and obviously we want to answer in favor of YouTube and free speech. So yeah, let's just get started. So I'm going to say, yes, I'm 16 plus. Obviously, I'm super old. So yeah. Please tell us in what capacity you're responding. As a member of the public, as an academic researching media or creative industries, as an individual who works in media or creative industries. I'm just going to say, as a member of the public, I want my voice to be heard, not as a content creator, but just as an individual. I'm just going to say, prefer not to say. I feel like that's just not important at all. What is your sex? Okay, I think I'm a dude. So is the gender you identify with? Yep. Okay, cool. How would you describe your national identity? Again, I'm just going to say prefer not to say. I just feel like that's not relevant at all. In what region or nation do you currently live in? So I'm going to say outside of the UK, and I'm just going to say USA, right? So what is your ethnic group? Again, I'm going to say prefer not to say. I just feel like that's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. We are talking about privacy and freedom on the internet. What does my racial background or, anything like that have to do with anything? Do you have any physical or mental health conditions? No. If yes, does your condition or illness reduce your ability to carry out day-to-day activities? No. What is your highest level of education? Again, I'm just going to say prefer not to say. I'm an idiot, so you don't need to know that information. What section of this consultation would you like to answer questions about? Please select all that apply. And we're going to go to, let's just go to all of them, right? Because I'm going to assume this all obviously has to do with YouTube. But specifically, I believe section 2 is the main issue here, right? So what are your overall views in the future of television and media in the UK related to the topics presented on paper? I'm just going to go ahead and skip that part. What measures do you feel like would be most effective for the government to take to overall address these challenges? Again, going to skip that again. How often do you encounter news you feel is untrustworthy when online? For example, something you consider misinformation. So I guess this is where like the content is like kind of skewed over here, where they're asking us, oh, if there's more misinformation online, then that's why we need to have our trusted sources there. So I'm just going to say not sure, right? Do you believe trustworthy news content should be more visible on social media? I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because I feel like that is a leading question. If you say yes to that, then they're going to be like, okay, so this is why we need to make sure our legacy content, our BBC crap, is at the forefront of YouTube. If the government gives prominence to trustworthy providers of news, should the prominence be ongoing and always on or only active during periods of heightened vulnerability? I'm going to just say not sure. Do you feel individual users should be given an option whether prominence measures for trustworthy news content are switched on or off for them? Yes, always give us an option. Do not try to force this bullshit down our throats and not give us an option here. How concerned, if all, are you about the impact of misleading or unreliable information? We'll just say very concerned. How concerned, if all, are about the impact of, on democracy? Yeah, we'll say very concerned as well. So public service media refers to organizations such as BBC, whatever. Which of the following statements most closely reflects your view on the role of public service media in helping people critically engage with news and other information? I'm honestly going to say public service media is currently doing too much to support critical engagement and should do less. Again, these are all leading questions so they can try to do this bullshit on YouTube. How valuable, if at all, do you believe collaboration between public service media, whatever, and the media sector could be in supporting people to critically access information? We'll just say somewhat valuable, right? Which of the following models, if any, do you consider most effective for further media sector collaboration in this area? I'm just going to say no additional collaboration is needed because, again, I know these are leaded questions. I know what they're trying to do over here. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the government's assessment of the case for change relating to the future of digital terrestrial television? I think we're starting to get into stuff that won't have to do with YouTube, so I guess I can just answer the rest of this off camera. Okay, here we go. We're going back to YouTube over here. How easy or difficult is it for you to find culturally relevant content on video platforms like YouTube, TikTok, whatever? I'm going to say very easy, right? Again, I don't want to try to downplay YouTube in the eyes of the UK. Obviously, probably nobody on YouTube has made more videos criticizing YouTube than me. But if I had to pick YouTube over the British government, I'm sorry, I'm picking YouTube every single time. I hate the idea that a government is actually trying to control the type of content that will be on YouTube. To what extent do you agree or disagree that content from public service media providers like BBC and Channel 4 should be easier to find on video platforms? I am going to say strongly disagree. It should definitely not be easier to find public service media content on these platforms, because if they say strongly agree, or if we say strongly agree, then that is going to be ammo for them to be like, yeah, I guess we should put it at the top of the homepage. Do you regularly create video content, upload it to video sharing platforms such as YouTube and TikTok? I guess I'll be honest here because, I'm going ahead and recording this video. So I'll say, yeah, primarily for fun as a hobby. As a content creator, someone who uploads content to video sharing platforms, are there additional changes or features that you would want video sharing platforms to offer? For example, to increase the visibility of your content, transparency of systems, or to make content more discoverable? These platforms to make the content of actual content creators be more prominent, not legacy media. Thinking about the video sharing platforms you upload and share content on, do you have sufficient awareness on how content shown to viewers is through the algorithms? I'll say, yeah, I have sufficient awareness, I guess. So, okay. So on to the next section over here. Okay, so we're at the end of the consultation over here. I did skip some parts that I felt like weren't relevant. You can go ahead on the bottom right and just go ahead and skip the questions that you don't want to answer. I just answered every question that was related to YouTube. Again, I will be putting a link to this form in the comments and probably in the description as well. This is absolute insanity, right? I mean, we are actually talking about a government right now that is actually trying to make it so certain content on YouTube is shown to be the liking of their own government. The legacy media of their own government would be shown on YouTube before anything else. And no, it wouldn't be during like a major news story or something where that happens sometimes. Like, for example, on your homepage over here, if there's like some major news or whatever, it actually will rank higher than other videos, which I still disagree with, but I guess that's somewhat okay. No, with this new system that they're proposing, the UK content would always be at the forefront of your YouTube homepage. The BBC, Channel 4, all that other crap, that would always be at the top of your homepage. This would be absolute insanity if we allow a government to do this. Make sure your voices are heard. Again, I will be putting that link in the description in the comments. Please go ahead and vote on the consultation. If you're too lazy to read it or whatever, just like I am, just answer the questions on how I did it, because I picked all the answers that would make it so YouTube would actually come out on top of this as opposed to the UK. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. The UK wants to actually take over YouTube. I mean, it is absolute insanity. Please leave a like in the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. See ya.